Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
This is me. This is my life. This is it right here. The 50-50-90 rule. Here it is. Anytime you have a 50-50 chance of getting something right, there's a 90% chance I'll get it wrong. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. It's Wednesday. Good morning. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, I appreciate them, all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. And, of course, our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly and the crew at 734-6969. I am looking at this 97 Bonneville. Oh, black, beautiful. Woo, what a car. I want to ride. Huh?
I will definitely give you a ride. Actually, I'm going to bring her home today.
I tell you what, and you know what stands out in the picture besides the Bonneville?
What's that?
James's old truck.
And honestly, you know, if you look a little bit farther back, you might be able to see, and I'll send you the picture, he's got a half and half trailer.
Yeah.
Half of it's done, half of it's not, on purpose, and so it actually looks pretty cool, but I am in love with that Bonneville.
Oh, man, that's a good-looking car. Good job, gal. Good job.
Thank you. We spent a lot of time on her.
Yes, you did, and take care of that car.
Oh, will do.
Okay.
Will do.
Do we have a pledger?
We have Mr. Michael Rogers on for the pledge and for the weather.
All right. Well, we'll say good morning to Michael Rogers as he gives us the pledge and then follows by Magic Valley weather. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, everybody. Morning, Zeb. Morning, Gina. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We've been together now for quite a while, so you've seen a storm, and now it's clear for today. Why? Well, you're on the backside of that cold front that passed through, and it's kind of cool out there. It's 31 degrees in Murtaugh. You're going to struggle to get to a high today of 55, but it's going to be sunny all day, and the winds are not going to be a problem. Clear tonight, and it's still going to be on the chilly side, but just start to warm up as you for the weekend. 57 for the high tomorrow under sunny skies. Other than that, winter's still here. Hang in there. It's almost done. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go. The world's greatest weatherman, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Appreciate him, and we'll have him on at least 2 or 3 more times throughout the morning. Thank you very much, Michael. Hey, by the way, folks, don't forget Valley-Wide Home and Ranch and their Chick Days next Monday, the 17th. That's right. Chick Days are going to have all kinds of specials over there. The first 50 customers to go in and spend $25 will receive a free T-shirt, and they're going to have chicks at just 99 cents. No, wrong kind of chick. And that's going to be next Monday the 17th. And don't forget, they've got everything you need to raise healthy chicks right there at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch. Everything. And don't forget, too, they got all your Ariat boots and your Montana Silversmiths jewelry. Everything you want, everything you need. Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today and again next Monday on the 17th. Okay, Chick Day. All right, calls are welcome. And appreciate it, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Okay. So where is it? Where is the airplane? We are going into what now, day 6, and they have no clue as to where Malaysian Flight 307 is, or was, or may be, and it veered off course approximately 140 degrees to the southwest, and nobody seems to have a clue as to why, where, what, or how. You know, some people called me yesterday on my cell phone, and they were critical of my thinking that, it always had to be terrorism or something else. Okay, fine. One reason is as good as another. Now, number one, had the plane blown up, why are we not finding any debris, anything? Number two, if the plane was taken over by terrorists and it did land, and this is my theory, I'm going to stick to it, I think the plane, until proven differently, I think the plane is at another location. I think the hostages were warned to not touch their cell phones. I believe they were collected. I think that this plane possibly could be repainted. This is a theory of mine, but I've talked to other people on the East Coast that agree with me. This plane could be repainted and the numbers changed and everything, and could become a severe weapon with Al-Qaeda, comparable to 911. I think we need to study all this. There was an oil rig worker off the coast of Vietnam that did report the night of the disappearance of the airplane that he claims he saw an explosion in the sky. Okay, now that is being investigated and looked into. But there's so many theories as to what happened. Terrorism, skyjacking, prisoners with poisonous fumes that they released inside the cabin and everybody passed out, and possibly these malcontents from Iran took over the plane. I mean, there's all kinds of things. But right now, one thing you have to agree with me on is your theory, my theory, anybody's theory is as good as anyone's theory, because nobody knows. Nobody knows. This is one of the strangest occurrences that in my lifetime I've ever heard of. Gina, as a journalist that's worked in television and radio just like I have, honestly, I've never heard of a plane with over 250 people on it, a big Boeing, just all of a sudden, poof, gone.
I haven't heard, recently I've not heard of any cases. Of course, there's the whole Bermuda Triangle thing.
Yeah.
But this is not even anywhere near that. So what you're speculating could quite possibly be true, and if that is the case, very scary, and I am worried for these people.
Could you boost my receiving down the line just a touch? One of the things I talked about the other day to a very dear friend of mine that works for a think tank back in Washington, D.C., and I mentioned to him my own little theory about where the plane might be and how it happened and everything, and I said, okay, Bob, go ahead and laugh at me. And Gina, he didn't laugh. He said, your scenario has been studied a lot in the last 24 to 48 hours. And when I mentioned to him about possibly the plane being repainted and renumbered, maybe to another airline, etc., and then flying, hopefully not, God forbid, in a 911 situation, again, he did not sneer or laugh at that scenario.
It's very, very possible. I mean, we do know that there were 2 people on board who used falsified passports and information to get on that plane. And so are these the 2 people that could have possibly hijacked the plane and taken it elsewhere? I mean, all of this is kind of sort of speculation, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility. Very, very scary stuff.
No, and the other thing is about the cell phones. Now, you heard yesterday, and it's been repeated on numerous occasions, that when they, some of the family members are calling some of the cell phones, they're still getting the ringer. Now, just think about this. Somebody all of a sudden stands up on an airliner, and let's say that they have a hand grenade, and they say, if anyone touches their cell phone, we will detonate the hand grenade. We are going to pass through the aisle with a bag. We're going to collect all the cell phones, drop them in the bag. There, A, number one, the cell phones are still activated. B, nobody can call, and that's why you could have that scenario. I mean, when you look at what can happen on airliners with takeovers of Al-Qaeda or any other terrorist group, if it's orchestrated and they have other people at various points of the airplane, Gina, it's not that hard to pull off.
I know, and I don't know if you actually caught this. This story was brought up 2 hours ago it's on India Today, and it's saying that the missing Malaysia jet is traced to the Andaman Nicobar Islands.
Yeah. I heard, I didn't know the name of the island, but I had heard that. But now, along with that story, do they also allude to the last words of the pilot that were in communication with ground control? He said, all right, good night. Those were the last communicative words from the pilot in that plane.
Really? I did not know that.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something, we all should be concerned about this. We all should be concerned about this. Now, A, if I'm wrong on my theory, so be it. I mean, everybody's got a theory. If it turns out that the plane crashed, God help all those souls that were lost, and I pray for all of them. But, Gina, right now, nobody knows, and with the status of Al-Qaeda over the last few years, absolutely frustrated because some of their attempts at really hurting us and the rest of the world have been foiled, I'm not so sure this wasn't one of their little ploys.
It possibly could have been. I'm going to continue to read the story and see what it says. We've got Big Al on.
Okay, I got to do a commercial, and I'll take Al's phone call. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget incandescent light bulbs. I'm not going to change using incandescent light bulbs. Why? Because I bought a box of them, a big box from Ramsey Heating and Electric. They've got them in 40, 60, 75, or 100-watt size, and I'm telling you to stop in there and get those incandescent light bulbs. I am not going to be told by the government, especially this administration, what I can and can't do for the light in my home. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, the best of all your electrical needs. And don't forget, they always provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. You stop in and see them today. Al, good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. I looked at the map yesterday when they said it veered to the west, about 150 degrees. That would put it in that chain of islands all through there between there and India. And I'd like to know why, when them 5 passengers got off the aircraft and left their baggage still on there, why wasn't that checked out more?
You know, and see, Al, there's another point. I'm so glad you brought that up. It doesn't necessarily have to be people on the airplane that help pull off some very dangerous terrorist act. It could have been a coordinated effort like what you just said. I was going to get into that. So that's my next point of interest, as a matter of fact, to talk about the people that did not get on the airplane, but the baggage did. And I think you bring a very valid point. I mean, we're always concerned about who is on the airplane, but actually maybe there should be more concern about who got off the airplane.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going around, but I looked at that map yesterday when it's supposed to take off over Vietnam, and I said, well, if it's done that, maybe it's on some of them abandoned air bases there in Vietnam. And I said, but they're going to find it on some abandoned airport somewhere, and they're going to work on it, like you said.
So you have a tendency to agree with my theory?
Yeah.
I've been laughed at over that, but I'll guarantee you when I talk to, I'll just refer to him as Bob from a think tank back east in Washington yesterday, he didn't laugh at all, Al.
Because I've seen several different explosions of aircraft when they crashed and all that stuff, and you're going to find debris for miles.
Well, the thing is, Al, you've been around planes all of your life, and you know that after a certain time, no matter if it's a nose in the water completely, you're going to have a debris float. If not immediately, you're going to have it within 24 hours.
Yeah, another thing to look at, too, they didn't have too much fuel, to go very far, so they got to be in them islands somewhere next between there and India.
Absolutely. Al, I'm so appreciative of your call this morning. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
God bless. This is a theory that when you think about the dastardly deeds that Al-Qaeda could and might pull off. Just think about this for a minute, and go ahead and tee-hee at me if you want to. You take an airplane that size, and it's a great big Boeing passenger jet. It's only 9 years old. And you have Al-Qaeda take that plane and completely strike all the inferences and mottos, lottos, everything that have anything to do with Malaysian Airlines. And you repaint that plane and maybe paint it United. Let's use United Airlines as an example. And you put another false number on it. You put everything on there. You have got a plane that when it hits the airwaves and possibly, like I said, hopefully not another 911, but to any Air Force fighter jet that might be called into action to check out the number on the plane and everything, here comes a United flight, whatever it is. This could be a very spooky scenario. And I am not convinced at all that this plane crashed. And also, I'm not convinced at all that all those 200 and, let's round it off at 250 people with the crew, etc., are dead. Your thoughts and calls are appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Really, I would like to hear what you have to say. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant. Oh, we love Denny's Restaurant. Why? Because it's our new home for Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we really appreciate it. I want you to support them because nobody is nicer than Thomas and the staff over there. Really nice people. Terry, the whole crew, the service is fantastic. They're located at 611 North Overland in Burley. And by the way, I want to tell you that kids eat free Tuesdays from 4 to 10 p.m. Yeah, no kidding. Save money, and the kids will love it. They'll have a ball over at Denny's Restaurant. You will, too. The food, anytime, all the time, is great. Service, fantastic. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. All right, let's get your thoughts on here. I know Chris Hondo called yesterday, and Chris had a tendency to believe in our theory about the plane. But it's a tragedy. And modern-day science with all the radar and everything else, and it just absolutely is spooky to think that some of the equipment inside the cockpit was turned off so that it could not be traced. But this is something that now going into, what is this, day 6 now? A missing airliner, a missing huge airliner with 250 people, and nobody knows. Unbelievable. Gina, is there anything else in that story you found that came across the wire lately?
I'm sitting here still reading it, and it's not really. It's the Coast Guard from India, and they're looking on the remote islands of Andaman and Nicobar. They joined the airborne search, which would have been earlier today because they're a day ahead of us. So they're looking there. I
have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, now, and I know, again, both of us have been in this business most of our lives, most of our adult lives. Uh-huh. And one of the biggest questions that hit me yesterday was, why did Malaysia and air control that followed this jet not tell the world immediately, when they learned that this plane had banked to the southwest 140 degrees, why didn't they notify everybody instead of letting people spin and the countries spin? 10 countries were out looking. Why didn't they notify them to call off the search in that respective area?
Maybe out of hope that they were wrong. Who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, that absolutely is inexcusable as far as I'm concerned. When you have information that shows dramatically and emphatically that the plane changed course and went to almost a turnaround of 140 degrees to the southwest, why not notify your search and rescue crews that spent literally millions of dollars out there searching for something that wasn't in that area? Never was.
It seems like a breakdown of communications, and they don't want to admit that they're wrong. Maybe
I don't know, but this is really a confusing mystery, and one in this 21st century that I've never heard the likes of.
Yeah, and this is my main concern. There are 239 people on board that plane.
Yeah,
that have families, mothers, daughters, sons. Where are they?
Yeah.
Where are these people? Because they need to be going home. They need to get to their prospective locations.
For closure. I mean, for Pete's sakes, there was a lady on television, and my heart went out to her yesterday, that she is a 9-year-old boy, son, and she doesn't know what to tell him because she doesn't know the status of her husband. Now, he could very well be alive. He could very well be a hostage, or he could be dead, deceased. And here she is with a 9-year-old boy, and at 9 years old, they're asking a zillion questions. She does not know what to say.
Yeah. And what I find kind of funny about this story that I'm actually reading, it's like the Malaysian Air Force is now kind of backtracking on some of the previous statements that they made, saying, oh, no, I never said that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's reported that you did. So what are you saying here? What you're saying before was a lie, and now what you're saying now is the truth?
Well, in that area, if you read and follow the story, Gina, that area, respectively, Kuala Lumpur and all those countries, very strong Muslim orientation over there.
But they're still people, and that still does not justify them lying to the media
Absolutely.
and to the public and
Absolutely.
to the families who are missing their family members. So just be honest in your statements. And if you're going to come out and make a statement, make sure it's true and factual, because you can't go 2 days later and say, oh, well, I never did say that, when it's in the papers and it's in, world media. Yeah, you did.
But, here's the thing. What do you do, and I've got to do a break here at the bottom of the hour, but what do you do that you haven't already done in the wrong location, and you really don't have a point of interest to start a search anywhere? There is no point of interest right now that definitely gives a search crew hope.
Yeah. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, and
it is.
Where do you begin? And so I just pray and I hope that the plane will be found and that the people will be safe. But the longer that this goes on, the more that is not
absolutely bizarre. I agree with you. Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn, 438-8730 with my buddy Jim McCall. Jim will be on the air with us tomorrow, and they've got all your bolts, and they got your bins, by the way, the metric and the standard bolts, and they got all the bolt bins. Have bolts will travel. And don't forget, like Jim said last week, they had 2 semi-trailer loads of filters, and boy, they got filters here, filters there, filters everywhere, and they're going to let them go up to possibly even 90% off? I'm not kidding. They got Bubba ropes to pull you out of the mud and the muck at 10% off. I'm telling you, call the people that care. Travel Lube Supply, 438-8730. They deliver the goods. Yes, they do. It is time for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and it's brought to you by our friends with Lennox. And, of course, Lennox with Ramsey Heating and Electric, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Here, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
A bill that would allow Idaho agricultural operations to use inmate labor when enough workers aren't available has made it to the full Senate. The legislation would allow state inmates to work for agricultural employers to produce, harvest, or process perishable Idaho farm commodities. Fruit growers in southwestern Idaho have struggled to find enough workers in recent years, and a lot of pears in the Sunny Slope region near Caldwell went unpicked last year. The inmates would be volunteers and would make at least minimum wage. Some of their earnings would help offset the cost of transportation and security. Earnings would also pay restitution, child support, and other court-ordered legal judgments. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Thank you very much, our friends with Lennox at, of course, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Hey, Gina thought I forgot. Nope, I'm on time like I did it yesterday. It's a tip of the coffee cup this morning to some really nice people. An old dear friend stopped in to see how I was doing last night. God bless him, Don Craner. Don Craner moved from Murtaugh into Twin Falls. Good to see him. And then I want to say good morning to David and Diane Coates over there in the Valley Eden area. And, of course, my old buddy, Jack Euler. A tip of the coffee cup to these wonderful people this morning, and I hope and pray that you have a very good day. Gina, I got to bother you again because I want to ask your opinion about these. I'm watching my mouth and I'm watching my language this morning because I was so upset last night watching television. Did you get a chance to see the interview with Justin Bieber?
No, I did not see.
Well, it's on all the news. Let me tell you what's going on. See, he's up for a court case of drag racing and speeding and drinking, underage drinking, and all this kind of stuff down in Florida, see?
Right.
And they were interviewing him, and picture this punk, this absolute worthless, very, very wealthy punk, sitting in a leather chair with a leather jacket on and sitting back with one hand under his chin, looking totally disgusted with having to be there and answer questions. And the reporter asked him a question about somebody that he was with that night and whether or not, I think the question was about whether or not he was endangering her life. And he put his hands over his eyes and then he took his hand off and he said, "Don't you ever ask me that question again." Yeah, and he points the finger at the guy. Here's a 20-year-old punk acting like he's some kind of a tough guy. And then the other thing that happened, they released the emails about that 18-year-old girl that was demanding money from her parents. If you get a chance, you ought to pull some of that information up. Every other word that she used to her parents was as filthy gets, none of which could be used on the radio. And she absolutely denigrated her mother and her dad for saving money for their retirement and not giving it to her. And she just absolutely went on a tirade, paragraph after paragraph, calling them the filthiest names you could ever imagine. What is going on in our society to where these punks think that they have the entitlement to your money and my money?
Because we've spoiled them. Period.
I know.
We've spoiled them. We have made their lives too easy.
They don't have enough work to do.
I know. You know, we don't. We coddle them. "Oh, honey, you know, I'll clean up after you. You don't have to do your chores. Oh, honey, well, let me get you a tutor to help you with your homework.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, you know, well, you need a car, so okay, let me go ahead and buy you one."
You know, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing, Gina. Everything you said is correct, 1,000% correct. But here's something else that has caused this problem. We've treated them like they're all winners because of the stupid, insane, absolutely fraudulent attitude of everybody gets first place in a blue ribbon.
Yeah, and that's not the case. You have to work hard for this. And for this 18-year-old girl, oh my gosh, if she was my daughter, I can't say what I
Did you see her sitting in court with that look on her face? Did you see that picture?
I've got this little picture pulled up of her, and she just looks like a smug little brat.
Oh,
She's slapping her face. It's like, you know what? Your parents are providing you with everything. They have given you the world. They love you. And you're going to turn around and stab them in the back and be, you know, like, "Oh, I'm so entitled, and I want part of your retirement now, too." Look, kid, you have to wait till they die before that happens.
I cannot even imagine.
Now, you know, enjoy your parents now while you still have them before they write you off out of their will.
You know, someday, and I hate to sound crass about this, but it's the truth. Someday in the future, the funeral director is going to close the lid on the mother and the father, and they're gone forever. And everything that those parents, or for that matter, any parent has done for their children, even though all parents have made mistakes, all parents are not perfect, that child has got to stand there at that casket, look at that closed casket and go, "My God, what have I done?"
Exactly. All the things I could have said but didn't.
That's exactly
all the things
right.
I should have done but didn't.
Or, on the opposite, all the things I said that I shouldn't have.
And I never apologized.
That's right, in this girl's case. How can this girl, she just sickens me. How can she possibly make amends to her parents? Now, the parents probably will forgive her and take her back in an instant.
Ooh, I don't know.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, you know, forgiveness is very important in life.
It'll take years.
It'll take years. I agree with you. I agree. We have a call?
Yeah, we've got Adrian on the phone for you.
Okay. Adrian, go ahead real fast.
Good morning. I just want to make a comment. I smell a real rat with this Malaysian airline situation. It reminds me back in 1983, September 1st, when Korean Airlines 007 was hijacked or whatever happened to it. And anyway, it was, that jet just completely disappeared. They found a little bit of so-called cabin debris in the water, but it was also a jumbo jet, and yet it was recorded. But Congressman Larry McDonald was on that flight, and of course he was a thorn in the side of the KGB and the Russians, and had produced a couple excellent productions on exposing those people. And but anyway, I smell a real rat on this.
Well, you basically are saying the same thing I said earlier. You're agreeing with me. I don't think the plane went down, and I'll tell you, I'll say it again so that people can criticize me if they want to. I believe that it was an al-Qaeda takeover of the plane. It would be very easy to take over the entirety of the cabin. It would be very easy to make sure that there's no cell phone calls made or received. It would be very easy to land the plane in some desolate runway. It would be very easy to repaint the plane to another company name, United or whatever, repaint the numbers and everything, and use that plane as a tool like they did in 911. It's very easy to think of a worst case scenario.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. But with all the technology that's out there, satellites and so forth, I find it really suspicious that But going back in 1983. That Korean Airlines supposedly was shot down. There was no debris really found other than a little bit of cabin debris.
Yeah.
And we had a speaker come here and talk about that in Twin Falls, and really went over that extensively, and I've studied it. And what was really interesting, when you read the Times News, the headlines that morning said that the airline had been forced down on Sakhalin Island. So when you turn on the very morning news, the airline was shot down, there were no survivors. Just like, oh, really? What a change that was.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just to talk about the cover-up that's possible. That was back in 1983, and here we are 31 years later with some kind of a similar scenario. I'm wondering if there's like a hijacking, or if there was somebody really important on board.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, Adrian, your theory is as good as anybody else's theory. And for somebody to sneer at a theory or make fun of a theory, that proves that they are of lower mentality. Because right now there is not anything known concrete about Flight 703, Malaysian Airlines. Anything and everything is possible. All cards are on the table face up. And your theory, my theory, everybody's theory is a theory of possible acceptability, because nothing's been proven negative yet.
Well, that's right, and I'm just saying that we can't trust our media at all, as you well know, on anything, and so a cover-up of monumental proportions could be in the works.
I agree.
Who knows? But I hope that the plane is found, the passengers, but the 269 that are on Flight 007, Korean Airlines, some of those were actually seen through the underground in the Soviet Union, and even Larry McDonald was seen in the Soviet Union alive. So this is there's a guy by the name of Avram Shifrin spoke in Boise on that topic, and I attended that meeting.
All right, well, listen.
The Soviet underground, and I'll tell you, folks, we really better wake up to what's going on in the world and get informed.
I agree.
And take a stand to protect the freedoms that we have, because we're losing them very rapidly.
Very, very rapidly. Thank you, Adrian. Appreciate your call. Thank you very much.
Great day. Bye now.
The thing is, yesterday, while I was on the phone talking to some of these folks that really know, I mean, they're right there in Washington, D.C., and rubbing elbows with all the questions and answers that supposedly are on two legs walking around Washington, D.C., and nobody knows. Nobody knows. There is no theory that is more positive than another theory. This is a complete mystery. Don't forget our friends over at Berry Equipment and Rental. Eli, the man in Twin Falls, said Coyote Tractors. We got them. All the locations of Berry Equipment and Rental, and everybody loves those Coyote Tractors. They've got it all. I'll tell you what, I'm stuck on these Coyote Tractors. I want one really bad. Well, you check it out, and you can buy one or you can rent one. They've got them all ready to work for you. Check it out, Coyote Tractors at Berry Equipment and Rental. Talk to Eli and the crew at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and talk to Nick and Rosie right down the road from me on Highway 30, 159 West, Highway 30 in Burley. They're ready to serve you. They've got all your equipment needs at Berry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm very critical of Barack Obama. I know that, almost to the point of being hypercritical. I don't like the man, okay? We've said that before. You've heard me say it before. But there has to be, for the President of the United States, a little respectability, and he has to be more, I think, cognizant of where he is, what he's doing, and what he's saying. I found this comedic approach to trying to get people to buy Obamacare was absolutely the lowest of the low. Now, I know some of you are going to go back and say, well, Richard Nixon was on Laugh-In years ago, back in the 70s, and he had a little one phrase that said, suck it to me. That was Richard Nixon then. What's the matter with Obama now? It's a different situation. It really is a different situation, and I don't think Nixon should have done it then. Okay? But this comedic routine that Obama had trying to get younger people to sign up for Obamacare left a lot of holes in the Swiss cheese. First of all, I didn't think it was funny. Secondarily, I didn't think that it was presidential. And thirdly, I thought it was a waste of money, your money and my money, to try to entice the young people to get into Obamacare. Now, Obamacare, whether you're a Democrat or not, whether you're a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat that thinks Obamacare is the best thing since sliced bread, I pity you, first of all, and secondarily, you need to wake up and smell the coffee. Getting on the website and checking something out about Obamacare or saying that you've enrolled is a lot different than making the payments and owning the policy. And right now, there are very few numbers that are paying for the policies. And they had set a goal by March 31st to have 7 million people. But they have lost coverage for millions of others. So it's almost a wash. And the original concept of Obamacare was to take about 30 to 35 million people that were at the bottom of the barrel, having tough luck, trying to get their sled to go downhill in the snow and it wouldn't work, and provide them with coverage. 30 to 35 million people, and they're getting some signed up, don't know if they're paying, they're having others' policies canceled. This thing is a disaster. And how the Democrats, I would love to have one Democrat that has a backbone. Wait a minute, that's going to be hard to find. Call this program and give me pluses, positives about Obamacare. You can't find any. It's a destruction of a healthcare system. Yes, I will agree. It needed a lot of tweaking and a lot of fixing, which it could have. But now the destructive forces of Obamacare, ruining research, ruining doctors' approaches to staying in the business, ruining the healthcare studies about how we're going to try to improve policies, all of this is ruined through Obamacare, and still they don't even know what's all in the 2,700 pages. Remember our dear friend Nancy Pelosi? Well, we've got to pass the bill, and then we'll read it and understand it. You didn't understand it. You haven't read it. You haven't got a clue. Speaking of Nancy Pelosi, that woman needs to be put in a home. She's becoming more illiterate and incoherent every day with her gibberish and her nonsense. Would somebody please commit her?
I think she drinks too much of her own wine.
I can't argue that. I think we'll call her Loopy Nancy from now on. Yesterday, how do you say this? How do you come up in front of the television cameras? And you've heard me on the air, I'm against all this food stamp usage. I think there's abuse. You have heard me on this program many times, Gina, say that there needs to be reviews of every single welfare case because of the leeches that are taking your money and mine and living fat on the hog and doing nothing. You've heard me say that.
Oh, yeah.
What is wrong with the GOP or anybody of conservative nature saying they need to have more investigatory means to find out who's on welfare, why they're on welfare, and if they qualify for welfare, and then to have the likes of Dim Bulb Nancy come out and say that the GOP, all they want is hungry people and hungry children. They want children to starve to death. How does she get away with that kind of idiocy and incompetency?
I have no idea. And it's not about that. It's all about accountability. We want to make sure that our tax dollars are going properly to the proper places, to the proper people who actually need them. And Nancy, please retire.
There are people that live right here in the Magic Valley, and there are, because I know of some of them, that are absolutely dunning the system for all they can get and not putting anything back in for anybody else. I mean, they're takers, but they're never givers. And I am fed up to have my money and your money as a single mom. You're working hard to try to give Kennedy the very best. But these takers sit home, watch TV, they don't do anything. They know how to, work the system for their benefit, and they're not doing anything. I'm not saying all people on welfare. Don't anybody call me and criticize me and say that. But there are leeches, and those leeches need to be found out and knocked out of the system.
Here's the whole skinny with the system. The system was designed to help people out when they were in a time of need.
That's right.
It helped me out. I was on welfare for a little bit, got food stamps, while I needed it. Now I'm to the point where I don't need that anymore. So I am still repaying the system that helped me out. But, however, for those who are just on the system because, it's so much easier and they don't have to work and they can go out and hang out with their friends and all of their bills are taken care of and their kids are fed because of you and me and everybody else supporting them through our tax dollars. I don't think that is right. The system was not meant to support someone and their family for the entirety of their life existence.
Why is it okay for the system to keep adding people on to food stamps to the cost of the taxpayers when we could say and should say, stop right now. Every county do a study of each and every individual and family that's on the dole and find out if there's really a need. Wouldn't it be more money-saving and better productivity to find out who's the leech and who isn't rather than just adding people onto the dole?
Yeah, it would be. And honestly, the way kind of the system works is you have to pretty much financially disclose your whole life. You have to show all of your financial documents to prove that you are under you make less than the amount you can actually get these services. Yep. So what these people are doing is, they're continuing, they know how to work it. Well, okay, yeah, I'm out there, I'm applying for jobs.
Yep.
I just can't seem to find one.
Yeah, darn it, I'll give them one. I'll give them one.
So, they're pretending to jump through all of the hoops that you have to go through to get welfare, to get food stamps, to get Medicaid, because trust me, jumping through these hoops isn't easy, but once you're there and you can still prove because you're not actually out there looking for a job, of course you're going to remain on the system.
Scam the system. We got to get a weather forecast in here.
Ooh, yeah, we do.
Michael Rogers' weather forecast is brought to you this hour by Butte Irrigation. Bryce and the rest of the crew, 116 South, 600 West of Paul, and the new location, just a little bit north of Kimberly on Kimberly Road at Red Cap Corner. They'll get you wet. By the way, don't forget, they carry complete lines of everything you need in irrigation. And, I'll tell you what, update your sprinkler packages. They can help you right there at Butte Irrigation. Don't forget, they've got all the brands of wheel lines, hand lines, main lines, pivots, and pumps. They will get you wet. I guarantee it. Butte Irrigation in Paul and Kimberly. Here's Michael Rogers' weather.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Nice and sunny out there, but it's kind of cold. Where is that coming from? Well, as I spoke with you yesterday, you're on the backside of a cold front. Storm is done. You got that cold, dry air sitting in the Magic Valley right now. You got temperatures Mainly around in the 30s. It's going to warm up. You're going to see a high today, mainly 55. You're going to struggle to get there, but you should get there with no problem. The winds are not going to be a problem. Also, clear tonight and also sunny tomorrow. Same temperatures for the daytime highs and the overnight lows. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
You betcha, Michael. Thank you. Butte Irrigation. Paul and Kimberly, Bryce, and the rest of the crew, remember, they will get you wet. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. You hit the nail on the head this morning. On our local market, go down there, and you see people coming out with 2 cartons full of food and getting into brand-new vehicles. Some of them can't even speak English. And I had called Boise about this, and the answer that I got, this was some time ago I called Boise, is it doesn't matter what kind of a car they're driving. That has nothing to do with the food stamp. Well, how do you think they're able to get these big cars?
Well, Tony, don't you agree, and you've been around on God's green earth for quite a while and have seen changes, good and bad, but do you agree with me that it would actually be a money saver to go in and check every individual, every family that's drawing on the dole money and food stamps and everything else to see if they really do qualify, rather than just carte blanche give more people? We're at 47 million now across the country, and they say it's going to go over 52 million. The more we increase it without checking, the more money we're wasting.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, when these people go in and buy these Escalades and these Suburbans, how were they able to qualify to buy these things at $50,000 and $75,000?
I don't know, but you really make a good point here, and it makes me chuckle to some extent. Gina just finished rebuilding a 97 Bonneville for her car, and it looks really sharp. I'm driving a pickup that's 11 years old. I'm driving a car that is 7 years old, and yet these folks somehow, like you said, can go down and get the Escalades and everything brand new and get the freebies. Tony, something's wrong with this picture.
My wife is driving an 11-year-old Explorer, and my Ranger is 8 years old. And I don't want to go out and buy anything because that's going to put a dent in our income.
That's right.
But these people don't care. You know, where does it stop?
Well, it's got to stop soon, and I, for one, am going to keep being the squeaky wheel that these people need to be checked. I think there's a need for welfare. I think there's a need for help. But if you don't qualify and you're scamming the system, I don't mind at all seeing your little fat butt go bouncing down the road until you get a job and be self-supportive.
Well, our government's the problem. Even up here in Idaho, when I called the Attorney General's office a long time ago, in the welfare office, they won't even talk to you.
Yeah. We have got a mess in this country of gimme. Well, look it goes back, Tony, to these punks like that 18-year-old girl that condemned her parents. It goes back to this punk like Justin Bieber. It goes back to the punk like Lindsay Lohan. It goes back to the gimme generation. Now, let me say this. In the same vein of condemning those young punks, there are also some great young people that are coming onto the scene. One of the greatest groups of young people that I have ever worked with, and I've spoken at their conventions and everything else, are the FFA, the young people with the blue jackets. I have got the utmost respect for them. They got their ducks in a row. They know where they're going. They know what they want to do. They know about their study programs. They know about their future. There are good young people, but there's always a bunch that have to spoil it for the rest.
Well, we've got foreign countries that are unloading their welfare recipients on the United States.
I agree. Tony, you got me all worked up. Now I got to calm down and go get my deodorant. Have a good day. Okay, see you later. Caller, I'll be right with you. Stand by, don't go away. Great big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my, they look forward to this great big tire sale. They've got the Proxys 4 Plus. This is quite a tire. 47% more tread life, shorter stopping distance, quieter ride. They got the Strategy. They got the Ultra Z900. They've got the best in brake service and batteries and shocks and struts and front end alignments. They got a lot of their custom wheels on sale. What are you waiting for? Please, get in your four-wheeled Wonder and get over there right now to any one of the 7 locations for this big spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline, Randy on Overland and Burley. Yep. Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. I got 1 minute left. Go ahead. Caller, good morning. Did they leave, Gina? I don't hear
Still on the
anything.
line. Chief, that's you.
Caller, come on. I can't wait all day. Let's go. Hang up on him. That's fine. I can't be waiting all day to have them make a response. Coming up next hour, we've got Doug Johnson, and Doug's from Colorado, and always has something interesting to say. And then at 9:30, Christine Harbin Hansen. We're going to talk about the. It's almost laughable. The president's budget. I mean, that's a word that's almost an oxymoron with this administration. And then later on this morning, we're going to have State Senator Dean Cameron on the air. And then 10:30, a really good friend of mine. I've known him for years and years and years. He's a lawyer down in Elko, Nevada. His name is Grant Gerber, and he's been leading the charge in that state against the enviros, the wacky enviros that are trying to close down all of Nevada, stop grazing and everything else. We're going to talk to him at 10:30 this morning, so we got a lot of things cooking. Let's see what else. I got a note I got to get on here real quick. Jack Euler gave me that the Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife will have their 12th annual Magic Valley chapter banquet and fundraiser rally for wildlife. This is going to be this coming Saturday, March 15th, at the Canyon Crest Event Center, 330 Canyon Crest Drive in Twin Falls. Caller, 30 seconds, no more. Go.
Hey, Hoss, this is the Chief.
Yeah, fast, Chief. Come on, I haven't got a lot of time.
How's your mobility now?
I'm getting up. I'm getting around. I'm not going to beat you in a foot race. If they did use a race, they could use a sundial to time me.
Well, that's good. Hey, I see this all the time, too, and I think that they need to just go more in depth with these people when they approve them. And then on the other side of the coin, a lot of baby boomers are retiring, and they should have known that there was going to be a lot of people drawing those benefits. And the government wastes so damn much money anyway. Why don't we just help the little people?
I agree, but I believe that the best way to help people is for them to help themselves first. Chief, I got to run to the news. Thank you very much, folks. We'll be back in 6 minutes. Zeb at the Ranch, ABC News is next. I'll see you in 6. I don't know what the name of that tune is, but I sure like that. Yes, sir. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, along with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and also some of our great advertisers like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. I've only said that address at least 10,000 times. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more, 459 Overland in Burley. And our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, those words sum it up, always at your disposal, and that's the truth. Western Waste Services, they really take care of your trash collection, recycling programs, porta potties, everything, along with now the Go Minis. You better believe it. Mobile storage units. Check it out. Call them today, 734-6969. Always at your disposal, some wonderful people, and that's Kelly and the crew at Western Waste Services. You get a hold of them today. Some other folks that we really are very, very proud to have on our program, naturally. Every day we get a chance to talk about them, and then during our lunch bunch they help us with some of the gifts, and that's, of course, Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with our friend Joel Heward, the owner-manager, and they pledge to serve you and your family the way you want to be served. And believe me, during a funeral, it's a very, very tough time to get everything done, dot all the I's, cross all the T's. Well, they're there. They're always always there with the best possible support and comfort. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Please call them, 436-5636. Well, it is Wednesday, and the blue skies outside. My goodness, have I got spring fever this morning. Good morning, Doug Johnson back in Colorado. How are you?
Well, I'm good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Not too bad, not too bad. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this subject, but because I want to talk a little bit about something you wrote in your blog, but I've got to get this out of the way first. I said earlier this morning, and I'm going to stand behind my theory. Everybody's got a theory right now, and nobody's theory is any better than anybody else's because they don't know what happened to Malaysian Flight 307. But in a nutshell, here's the way I see it until I'm proven wrong. The plane was hijacked. It was commandeered. The crew that was there to take over the commandeering absolutely collected all the cell phones. Nobody made any calls. They are still activated. The plane has been taken to a private runway. These people are being held hostage or worse, and that plane may be repainted into another company name, i.e. United, American Airlines. It could be anything, and possibly could become a tool of Al-Qaeda to use on another similar 911 situation. There. I've laid out my case. I'm going to stand behind it, and I don't think I have to be embarrassed.
No, I don't think you do. I think you're probably pretty close to right. I agree with most of it. Some of the stuff, I was fortunate to be privy to a forum with a group of pilots who fly these planes over open water and these large jets, and what their views are. And it's fascinating what they are concluding. And they basically boil it down to, they believe it's one of two things. One is basically something like you're talking about, although the cell phone issue is an issue because most all of them have said that over 8,000 to 10,000 feet, getting a cell phone to work is virtually impossible, other than for a split second. And so I don't know if that's an issue, but...
Whoa, wait a minute, though, Doug. Wait, Doug. Only thing...
Or they believe it was, and this is really interesting, I hadn't thought of this, they believe there might have been a system failure, a valve gone bad or something, much like professional golfer Payne Stewart had back in '99, and the whole plane succumbed to hypoxia. They said that the actual search area is now 19.6 million square nautical miles, which would be 22.5 million statute miles, as we on land, as land lovers tend to know them. So it's such a huge area. They said the plane could have flown halfway to Africa and just crashed if it was hypoxia, because nobody would even know what's going on. It would just go until it ran out of fuel. And so the chances of ever finding it are virtually nil. But they are leaning towards your exact scenario, Zeb, and I think that's an accurate scenario.
Yeah, but Doug, I think you missed the point on the cell phones. It would be so easy in a takeover of the airplane on people and individuals that you don't know who's going to stand up at some part of the airplane and say that they're a part of Al-Qaeda, they're taking over the plane, and the guy's got a grenade in his hand, and he says, if anybody touches your cell phone, I'll let the grenade go off. Put your cell phones in a bag. They collect all the cell phones. They're still activated. That's why some of the family members are still getting a ringtone. But that's what I meant by that. They wouldn't have time to even try to call if that scenario came true, but the cell phones would still be activated, and that's why the ringtones are in effect.
Yeah, although even if the cell phones had been on at that time, it's been so many days now, the batteries would have all died. So I think there's something else going on with the ringing that has to do with the servers that serve the cell phones, but I'm no expert on that. I think the bottom line is that my personal view is very similar to yours, that it was taken over. But it also may be one other thing, other than just terrorists taking it for use like you're saying. That may actually be a secondary issue. A lot of planes, those big jets, carry very valuable cargoes. Sometimes they carry gold or money or whatever in huge amounts, and the terrorist group could become aware of what's on the manifest and steal something like that. They have that for funding also. So, nobody's talking about what was in the cargo. They're keeping that quiet, and everything's kept so quiet. There's clearly a cover-up going on from the governments in that part of the world. They've got 10 governments involved in the search. Although Vietnam today has backed off and said we're going to wait and see before we do any more. But those 10 governments have put out a total of 40 planes and ships looking for this, which is not a lot in that big an area. But I think that the lack of information tells us something is not right. They probably know more than they're telling us, and my guess is it's not good.
You know, one question that I had last night, my wife and I both looked at each other at the same time, is why did Malaysian authorities, ground control, let the search go on after they had been aware of a 140-degree turn to the southwest away from the search area, completely away from the search area, and they let 10 countries and millions of dollars just float around in the water looking for debris? To me, that's inexcusable.
Well, it is, and what's interesting is now the Malaysian authorities are denying having ever said it. So
oh, really?
That also rings true to maybe a cover-up or something, because it's very strange. The information is so limited. Now, some of these pilots that I was privy to listen to said that it's very possible that Malaysia may have security issues that they don't want to reveal that allowed them to know things, and so they're not talking. But you have, if you include the crew, you have 239 people missing, and I mean, forget the stupid plane, the 239 human lives. And to me, there's no excuse to not unveil everything and find out what we can do to find these people.
Well, with the crew, you're talking almost 250 people of where are they, what happened, and you know something, seriously, and I mean this, Doug, we're good enough friends over the years, you know I'm being sincere when I say this. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong about this scenario that I've projected. But when you look at other scenarios, there really isn't a good ending to this story.
No, there isn't. It can't come out good, and so I think it's a matter of waiting to see how bad it is and what the real bad news is. Now, I find it interesting. I was not aware. Every report I've read has said there were 227 passengers and 12 crew members. So we've got differing stories. But either way, over 200 people is a lot of people to be missing.
Oh, there's absolutely no question about it. And I just hope and pray that all the facts become known. And again, whether it is a takeover of Al-Qaeda, whether it's a terrorist act, whether it's literally falling from the sky because of equipment malfunctions or whatever, I don't see a good ending to this story, and so my thoughts and prayers are with everybody on that airliner.
Well, yeah, and I think the other thing is that, if people are aware, and most people probably aren't, but the distance that jet could have traveled if it was taken, it's not like it may necessarily be right in that immediate area.
That's right.
Because it could have made it to the edge of Iran, it could have made it to part of Afghanistan, it could have made it to Pakistan, so some very bad areas of the world. Yep. And, of course, those are places that Al-Qaeda frequents and has a lot of ties. So I suspect if this thing shows up, if it did survive, it's going to show up in some terrorist-related area, and who knows what they're going to do with it. I think your scenario is unfortunately all too possible.
Doug, I want to shift gears here for a minute, and I want to talk about Obamacare. You know, this is such a mess, and it's hurt so many people. Many people I know and I've talked to that have lost their policies. Many people have lost their coverages for cancer or whatever else. And this has been devastating. And we supposedly only have, according to Obama and the site, about 4 million signups. 4 million signups. Now, if you'll remember, Doug, originally the concept of Obamacare was to provide coverage to 35 to 40 million people that couldn't afford it. Now, we're at 4 million possible signups. We really don't know who's paid their premiums. We're seeing people lose their coverage. It's a Mexican shootout, a circular firing squad, the way this thing's being operated. This is a farce and a joke, and I think it should be reason to go along with what you wrote about this last week about impeachment of Obama. I am disgusted with this administration.
Well, it is disgusting. I know I'm a broken record, but it is also part of the plan. The plan is to destroy the insurance companies, force a single-payer system. Totalitarian regimes, one of the first things they do is take over the healthcare system because they can control the people when they can control their health. And that's exactly where we're headed. And people don't like to hear that, but that really is where we're headed. And it's a very scary thing. This president does not care about the American people. He does not care that it's underfunded, because he'll just print more money. This is a really bad thing, and I think that Obamacare actually may be the only hope for America. And by that, Zeb, what I mean is it may be the one thing that gets the American people riled up enough that causes them to take action to change things in Washington, because nothing else seems to do it.
What did you think last night? I'm going to dovetail this into the conversation. What did you think about that congressional vote last night in Florida?
Well, I think it's fascinating. I mean, you know, it's just one election, but it says a lot, and it says a lot more positive than what happened a week ago or 2 weeks ago in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a positive thing, and hopefully that's the beginning of what we're going to start to see happen around the country. But I'm concerned when we have people like Mitch McConnell make the statement this week that the establishment will make sure that the Tea Party loses, you know, every Tea Party candidate will lose, and the establishment will control Congress. That's very concerning, but I do think the answer is the Republican Party. We just need to make sure the right people are controlling that party.
Yeah, you know, now you've touched on something. This idea of casting out Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and all these others with fresh new ideas and stepping on them like a bug from the old guard, the John McCains, etc., I'm fed up with it. I absolutely don't want to see the John McCains anymore. I don't want to see any of that ilk. I want to see some fresh blood in the Congress, in the Senate, that is going to absolutely remember how they got there, and that's because their constituents voted them in underneath the guise and the wherewithal of supporting their ideas. And we don't have that with this old guard.
No, we don't. We have a party platform, and the Republican Party is one that we as conservatives can embrace, but the establishment old guard Republicans actually don't embrace it personally. They feign acceptance of it, but they certainly don't embrace it. And I will say one other thing. I don't know if I understood you correctly, but I'm going to make the statement because I'm going to make my position known. I got the impression by what you said that you were putting Marco Rubio in the category of the Ted Cruzes and the Mike Lees and people like that. I don't. I think Marco Rubio is a fraud. I don't think he's a conservative. I think he's dangerous, and he scares me.
Well, I'll stand behind what I said as far as the younger guns, if you will, and the younger thought. And there is no cohesiveness right now in the Republican Party, and I honestly think that the reason the Republican Party is in disarray is because of the Mitch McConnells and the John McCains and others, because they've been there so long, too long. They've become stalwarts of their own situation, and they think they're irreplaceable. And that's the problem with the party.
Well, I think you're right. And now some good news was I saw recently that a recent poll out shows that of all senators, Americans distrust and dislike John McCain the most. I think that's good news in the sense that at least many people are aware of what he is and are concerned about it. But, of course, the next step is we need to take advantage of these midterms and replace people like that.
You know, we have a caller with a question for you, Doug. Stand by. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Doug, do you think that the country has changed so much since Reagan was president that a man of principle, stick-to-it leadership, that he, you know, nobody wanted him to do what he did, but in the end, he proved everyone wrong, including the weak-kneed Republicans. If we had a leader like that came back, are there still enough people informed and enough conservative and Republicans that will do something? Do you think we could get us back that way? And if so, who would it be?
Go ahead, Doug. Thanks.
That's great, but a tough question. I think that there's a couple things you raised there. I think it's still possible to save America, although the time is running out very quickly, and I think this year is critical to set up ourselves for 2016. I think what we need to have happen is find that Reagan-esque figure, and it doesn't have to be somebody just like Reagan. Nobody's like anybody else. In a minute, I'll give you my answer to who I think it should be. And I think that we need to do what the grassroots American public did in 1980. After the establishments forced Reagan out of the chances of winning the primaries in 76, the American people came back in 1980. They forced Reagan upon them, and of course we had a wonderful reaction in our economy, in our security, and everything in this country when Reagan took office. But the American people had to force the issue, and that's what we need. Now, the person I think that probably holds the best chance is probably Ted Cruz, because he is a world-class champion debater. He has the Ivy League education. He is an amazingly strong individual. And I heard something this past week that I am fascinated by that is being kicked around quietly as a concept for a campaign, which would be to set up a presidential campaign with somebody like Ted Cruz as the presidential candidate, and then name the cabinet while they're running, saying this is who would be my vice president, this would be my secretary of education, and so on and so forth, and run as a cabinet saying we have a solution to the problems that are wrong in America, and here's how we're going to fix it, and here's our team to do it. The Democrats would not know how to deal with that. They don't know how to play that kind of politics, and I think that would be a very fascinating approach for the Republicans to take if they were to do it.
All right, now I'm just going to jump in and say I can't argue with you. I mean, I'm not about to argue with you anyway, but arbitrate and debate maybe, but not argue on this point. I like the idea of Ted Cruz. I like the idea about what you said with the cabinet, but let's go back to what happened just a couple of days ago, and it's going to come up for a vote in the future couple of days, and that is the idea of the doctor trying to become the Surgeon General, Murthy. This man that Obama is pushing is nothing more than a weak-kneed, milquetoast, superficial doctor of varied intellect and education that has nothing more on his plate than to destroy the Second Amendment and act as a gun control advocate. Do you disagree with my statement?
Well, I don't. Frankly, I'm not as up on him as you are as far as knowledge. But what little I know would absolutely agree with you. And I'm sure he's just a tool of the administration to get what they want. The problem we have in Congress is we have a Congress that most of them believe that the president has a right to have whoever he wants appointed to office as he is to appoint people to, and I think that's the wrong attitude. Their job should be to screen these people to make sure that they are valid people. They may not fully agree with him on every point. You're not going to have that, but they are there to screen them, and so they need to block certain nominees, and we don't see Congress doing enough of that.
I agree with that, but Doug, this is for the people. It's not for them. It's not for the president. It's for the first three words of our Constitution, we the people. And I take deference and I get a lot of anxiety and angst against people that say, well, he has a right to appoint whoever he wants to. No! If this is a guy that's hell-bent on trying to disestablish the Constitution and diminish its value and change the Second Amendment, you bet we the people have got something to say about it.
Well, absolutely, but he and his side of the aisle see the Constitution as an old, worn-out document that needs to be changed, and they want to change it. They intend to change it. That's why they ignore it and abuse it. And this is something that's really important, because even Republicans make this mistake. They continue to refer to us as a democracy, and we are not. We are a republic, and there's a huge difference. And if you trace what happens in history, and Rome is a perfect example, you go from a republic to, if you become a democracy, you're headed for oligarchy, which basically is totalitarian rule. And it happens, and you collapse a government, you collapse a society this way. In fact, I'm actually thinking of writing a piece on this, because a lot of people don't understand the critically important differences between a republic and a democracy, and the fact that ultimately the only two choices of forms of government, even though we talk about monarchies and other things, the really only two choices that ultimately end up are republic or an oligarchy. And we don't want to head there, but we're headed there real fast. And I think this is important, because nobody respects the Constitution, or most people don't respect the Constitution in Washington anymore. And we, the people, need to take our government back.
Yeah, Doug, very well stated. I really appreciate that. Okay. I saved 30 seconds. Plug your new book, Doug Johnson.
Okay. New book's called The Leadership Secret. And what I did with this book is I go through and I list out the 16 character traits we must find in people who lead. And that's in any area of life, Zeb, whether it's in your family, whether it's in a civic organization, whether it's in government. These are the character traits we must have in our leaders. And the core character trait of those 16 is that a leader will always do what's right regardless of the cost to themselves. And we don't have many people out there like that in leadership positions, and that's the kind of people we need to identify and put into place in our government, all the way from Washington down to the local school board.
You know, I am a little frustrated, Doug, with you, because every time I have you on the program and you talk about your book, No Tomorrows, or the new book that you just finished giving accolades to, which are deserved, you're an excellent author. It makes me so mad at myself because I'm still dragging my boot heels trying to finish my own book, and I need somebody with a bullwhip like the old Lash LaRue TV series to keep popping me in the ear to get my work done.
Well, Zeb, I have a book coming out in a couple weeks that is not really going to be marketed to the political listening group. People can buy it if they want, but it's actually a book for business people about marketing, and I may have to get you a copy of that book when it comes out, because it talks about a little bit about what it takes to write a book and how you get through that process, and maybe that'll help you.
I hope so. I'll tell you what, just short of having the mafia stand over me with a submachine gun, I got to get it done, Doug. God bless you, man. Thank you very much.
Tougher than the mafia.
Okay. Doug Johnson, my buddy back in Colorado. Take care. God bless. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Zeb. You too.
You betcha. Very nice man right there. A good friend. Hey, don't forget life insurance. Got to have it. Got to make sure you're protected. Make sure the family's protected. Health insurance, same scenario. Retirement planning. Hey, think about the days going fishing and everything else. Got to have it. Employee benefits. If you've got a business, well, then you'd better call Dean Cameron Todd Siemens at Cameron & Siemens Insurance and make sure you've got all these ducks in a row and you're covered. Yep. Give them a call today, 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron & Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert. They are waiting right now for your call. Oh, my goodness, we'll have our guest on the program in just a moment. Stand by. But right now, don't forget, do not forget the 67th anniversary spectacular that's going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. No money down, no interest until June 2014 on approved credit. They've got all your lovely, beautiful, comfortable sofas, all your recliners. They've got all your accessories. They've got your occasional tables, all the lamps. They've got all the different mattresses and bedroom sets and all the carpet. What are you waiting for? Jump in the car, get over there right now, and just have yourself some fun with comfort and beautifying your home at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. 67th anniversary spectacular, 459 Overland in Burley. Really nice people. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and we have with us Christine Harbin Hansen, I believe, newly married. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm great. How are you?
How's the cooking coming?
Oh, poorly. Almost as bad as President Obama's budget.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Christine. Let me have the address of your home so I can send your husband a care package if it's that bad.
I do what I can.
I heard somebody in the background. Is that your husband?
No, that's my assistant.
Okay.
I'm at my office right now, and yes, there's a lot going on here at AFP today.
Well, let me ask you, Americans for Prosperity, Christine Harbin Hansen, I always look forward to having you on the air. You wanted to talk about the budget. You know something, that almost is a frivolous and silly thing to talk about, because how do you call this thing that Obama has put together, how do you call that a budget when it's doing nothing but putting us farther into debt?
Yeah, I would call it a disappointment. Because, President Obama has, pledged some very strong promises in the State of the Union. But when we look at the budget that he produced this, just short of 2 weeks ago, there's a lot of disappointments in here. Here at Americans for Prosperity, we're very concerned that it spends too much and it calls for higher taxes. We're also concerned that it makes no attempt to reform entitlements.
Now,
we're also disappointed that it's late. The president released this more than a month behind deadline.
Yeah. I want to ask you some questions here and be more definitive. When you say it doesn't do anything to reform entitlement programs, tell my audience, honestly, what you think about the reformation of entitlement programs. What do you mean?
Well, when I'm talking about entitlement programs, I'm talking about programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And when you look at the long-term outlook, the long-term economic outcome for our nation's finances, we see that these three programs are going to consume an increasing percentage of federal spending. And so that's why it's really important it's not too late, it's really important to get these under control now by making some changes that would affect people who are working right now. I'm not talking about, changing this agreement for people who are currently under retirement. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, making changes for people who are, my age right now, who are just starting out. The problem with these entitlement programs is that if we do nothing, they're going to consume an even greater percentage of spending. And people on the left and the right agree on this. However, unfortunately, President Obama has overlooked this big problem.
All right, I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. I like that. But when you start talking about revamping or remodeling, if you will, entitlement programs, you got to admit, Christine, that right now, your generation, and I do not mean to be critical, but I've got to be honest, there are some big holes in the screen door of your generation because they don't want to work, they don't want to go out and try to achieve goals, they're too much gimme, 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 handouts from the government. So how do you revise something as entitlements for their future when they don't want to be productive and put something in for their future?
Well, I think that's an important point that you raised, Zeb. But what I would turn that and say that I don't think the gimme gimme is characteristic of just millennials. We see this across all generations, and I think it's really important for, right now it's really difficult for people in my generation because they're facing one of the worst job markets in history. It's very difficult for many of my friends to get a job. However, that means that we need to, I think one of the problems with that is federal spending. Government has gotten so big that it's actually crowded out a lot of investment and job creation in the private sector. So this is a really big picture problem, and I think one of the job number one would be getting Washington's finances under control. And I think a very important, an integral part of that is fixing entitlement programs. And unfortunately, in the budget that President Obama has recently produced, he doesn't make any changes that would reform this out of control spending.
I absolutely agree with everything you said, but let's go back to your phrase that you used, the worst job markets in history. I agree with you, but all of this has been, and I'm not going to put all the blame on Obama, I'll put some on to Bush and previous presidents, but they have not done anything to stimulate the economy by relaxing their death grip around small businesses. They haven't done anything to help the economy as far as energy is concerned. Green energy, solar and wind power is absolutely idiotic and is not going to pay the bills. It's not going to supply the energy we need for our grids. And we're doing everything we can to shoot ourselves in the foot, and then we complain about job history and a lack of jobs available. They all go hand in hand.
I think you're exactly right, Zeb. And here's a story. So recently, earlier this week, my husband and I went and did our taxes. And to me, it was really eye-opening because my husband did some extra speaking on the side, so he qualified as like a self-employed person just for this little bit of income. And it was really alarming to me because, I knew this, but he had to pay the employer side of taxes in addition to the employee side of the taxes.
Oh, my.
Whereas, at my organization where I work here, I'm just paying the employee side of it. My point is that people who are in business for themselves, entrepreneurs, job creators, they're paying, in many situations, twice the taxes, and that is a huge deterrent to getting people back to work. I think if President Obama and his colleagues in Congress were actually focused on getting people back to work, then they should go and revisit some of this hostile tax climate. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening anytime in the near future.
What is the matter with these people? I mean, really, what is the matter with Obama and his close-knit cabinet members that sit in the Oval Office and devise these different plans? Can't they see that raising taxes, can't they see that going after the higher echelon of the people that make the jobs, make the businesses, create the jobs for availability to the American public, that once they knock them in the head and lay them by the side of the road, there's not going to be any more opportunity? Can't they understand this?
Well, I worry that they're out of ideas. And you see the president and his colleagues in Congress come out and propose the same tired policies that they've been proposing over the course of his administration, right? So we hear, like, each State of the Union address sounds like the ones that he delivered the past years. The difference is there's no change in between. So he talks about raising the minimum wage. You know, even though there's a bipartisan consensus that this will have a very destructive impact on our labor market, that'll make it even harder for people to get back to work. Unfortunately, this is these policies like this is what he keeps coming back to. We know that stimulus spending doesn't work. We know this because President Obama tried it early in his presidency, but now we see him and his budget advisors come out and propose even higher spending now. This spending gets written into the budget baseline. We're spending more and more. We're just getting more of the same. And it's really concerning. And when I go out to the States and I talk to Americans for Prosperity activists, they're fed up about it as well.
We've got a caller with a question, and I've got a whole bunch more questions to ask you. But go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead with Christine, please.
Yes, Frosty here not too long ago.
No, wait a minute, caller,
on the air.
Caller, just a minute. This is Christine Harbin Hansen. It is not Frosty, please.
I understand that. I'm saying that Frosty had made a comment, and I was wondering what her perspective was. Frosty had said that the people that are hiring the illegals, and they know who they are, should be frowned upon, and they should have a guilty conscience, and that if they would stop doing this thing, that we wouldn't have this problem with them coming across the border. My thoughts are on that we have grown a society that's been taught to work smart, don't work hard, that nobody wants to do those jobs. And for instance, right now, milk around here, would be up to $5 a gallon if it weren't for some of the Hispanics and some of that are taking away our jobs. But I really don't know that the white person out there who wants to work smart, he doesn't want to work hard. That's why they're going to college. What's your thoughts on that?
It's a very good question, sir, and I'm glad we had I understood exactly what you were trying to say on that. Thank you for your call. Christine, if you'd respond, please, I'd appreciate it.
Definitely. Well, first, I'd like to be clear that Americans for Prosperity doesn't work on immigration issues, so we don't typically weigh in on this. But one thing I think the caller's comment brings in is a general narrative of how difficult it is to get back to work under these onerous policies that the president is proposing. Just look at the president's health care law. You know, here we are several years in the implementation, they're still working out the kinks. What this brings is a host of new taxes and higher spending, and we see that that's choking job growth. It's a very concerning implication.
Christine, I'm in a small business I own, and all the regulations, all the rules, all the paperwork, all the taxation. I mean, I've lost my incentive, and I'm a very small businessman, and this administration just absolutely keeps saying we've got to have more regulations, we've got to have more rules, we've got to have higher taxes. It's just killing business, and I don't see it getting any better in the next 3 years, and every one of his future budgets are going to be just more of the same. time, they're going to kill the middleman and absolutely destroy the common interest of trying to run a small business in this country.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes from the economist Milton Friedman was that it's a government. Quite often, the best solution isn't more government. The solution is less government.
Yes.
I'm paraphrasing here, but I think that's really the issue that we have. We're in the case where we see a problem here in public policy. People and our lawmakers, our elected officials here in Washington and in our state capitals want to do something about it, but the policies that they keep coming back to are bigger government. When in reality, if what we would do is peel back the layers of government, peel back the red tape, peel back the regulation, peel back all the higher taxes and the higher spending, then it would be easier for entrepreneurs like yourself, for very small business owners, to go and enter the economy. I think it would be easier. I mean, we were talking earlier about how difficult it is for people in my generation, millennials, to get jobs. If government were scaled back, it would be easier for them, and then they wouldn't have those problems that resonate for the rest of their careers.
Absolutely. We have another caller with a question. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Hoss, this is the chief.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I had two comments and a question. The problem right now is, A, we're teaching our student children that they need to borrow money, fantastic amounts of money, to go to college to learn a skill that there's no need for.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then B, if you watch history or any of these cable TV shows, all of that industry is in Mexico. They're making mirrors, they're making aircraft, they're making electronic equipment. They're doing everything that we used to do, and they're not out there pounding on that stuff with the crescent wrench. It's high tech stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's hurt us.
All right, and go ahead quickly.
And I think we should be more tuned into the trades.
Absolutely. That's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'll have Christine respond to that. Christine, I've said for a long time, and I want your opinion on this as a member of the millennials. I have said for a long time that the biggest mistake we've made in this country is to push college as a panacea and a one-size-fits-all for everybody. I don't believe in it. I believe that there's at least, I'm going to use this percentage, it's my thinking, 40% of the students that leave high school have no business going to college, and they should be looking at the trade schools. But we've diminished that and have pushed college with college loans and everything, and that is absolutely ridiculous for the cost factors involved. How would you respond?
I respond in agreement. I think you summarized the problem of encouraging using many government programs, readily available federal grants available to students. I think there is a problem in pushing many young people in these one-size-fits-all education solutions. When and we've seen over the course of probably the last few decades. With in the past, it was easy. A person could go to a trade school, go to a community college, and be able to support a family on a blue-collar job. However, that said, there's also I think there are some different economic factors here as well. We've seen with the growth of technology that a lot of these jobs are less viable. There's just been a lot of technological growth. So this is a huge topic. I agree that it's a serious concern. I think that the administration should be looking at alternative ways for people to make a living. But I agree with you that it's a serious problem.
One final thought here, Christine, before I let you go this morning, and understand where I'm coming from. I can sit here and you can sit here, and we can condemn and we can cuss the budget that Obama is putting forth with spend, 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 more taxes, more taxes. But really, when you get down to brass tacks, I don't care if you're my age or your age, it's our fault, because I don't think we're being demanding enough. I don't think we're getting in the faces of our congressmen and our senators enough. I don't think we're letting the White House know enough that we're fed up with this, and we will not stand for going from 17 trillion in debt to 21 trillion in debt before this man leaves office. I think the problem is us. Am I wrong?
I think that's a great point to bring up. No, I think you're right on. I think it's really important. People are upset. People are fed up. They're fed up with this Washington overspending. They're fed up that the fact that they're losing their health care plans under the president's health care law. They're upset that they're facing higher taxes. And that's why I think it's the responsibility of people to let their elected officials know that they're upset. And that's something that we try to make very easy here at Americans for Prosperity. If you go to our website, americansforprosperity.org, we make it very easy for activists to send a note to their congressperson and let them know that that they're upset about this. You can take action on a number of issues.
All right. Well, Christine Harbert Hansen, thank you, Americans for Prosperity. I really enjoy having you on the program. Thank you so much. God's blessings. And next time you're on the program, we're going to have a new book out called Cooking with Christine. Take
It'll
care.
Be a bestseller.
All right. Take care, Christine. Thank you very much.
You too, Zeb.
Thank you. Very nice lady right there with Americans for Prosperity. We are being taxed to death. And this new budget is... I looked at what he's doing, and I'm just frustrated. I don't like this man. I don't like his thinking. I think he's nothing more than a community organizer from Chicago running wild. With the power of the presidency, the power of a pen and a phone, and the mentality of a toothpick. I just absolutely don't like this man. Let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, my goodness, they're open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 9 to 6. Boom, 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 get your motor running. They've got the biggest selection of side-by-sides at Let's Ride in the entire state of Idaho. That's not brag, that's a fact. They've got a lot of the ATVs on sale, and they've got great rebates and great interest rates. What are you waiting for? Get over there today. Nice people. Nick and the rest of the crew open the door and just look around the showroom and go, whoo! This is going to be fun. Yep, that's right, because that's where the fun is sold. Great parts and service department, all the accessories. Let's ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. You stop over and see them today. I'm running just a tad late here. I've got to get a weather forecast on real quick with Michael Rogers Weather, and our weather is brought to you this hour by some really good friends of mine. Red's Trading Post at 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls for all your guns, ammo, and accessories. It's Red's Trading Post. And don't forget, if you purchase a firearm from Red's Trading Post, you'll receive training bucks for both LMS defense and Shaw shooting. These are excellent courses to use in their rifle and pistol courses. So check it out at Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls. Here's Michael Rogers with the weather.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Nice and sunny out there, but it's kind of cold. Where is that coming from? Well, as I spoke with you yesterday, you're on the backside of a cold front. Storm is done. You got that cold, dry air sitting in the Magic Valley right now. You got temperatures mainly around in the 30s. It's going to warm up. You're going to see a high today of mainly 55. You're going to struggle to get there, but you should get there with no problem. The winds are not going to be a problem. Also, clear tonight and also sunny tomorrow. Same temperatures for the daytime highs and the overnight lows. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go, Michael. Thank you, Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls for all your guns, ammo, and accessories. Gina, are you right there by your microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to ask you a question. Now, you don't watch a lot of television, do you?
No.
Okay. Have you perchance seen the Cadillac commercial that's brand new on television? Okay, let me kind of give you a real short scenario of it. And let me preface my remarks by saying the liberal left in this country, the Pelosi's, the Reeds, the Democrats, they hate it. They are so incensed with this commercial, they are ready to just jump right out from underneath their toupees. Here's the Cadillac commercial, the scenario. There is a very, very successful homeowner that takes you on a little tour of his house. He is a very happily married family man with his children. He gets up in the morning and very smiling face, enjoys the world, gets out of bed, puts on a business suit, and goes outside his very nice home and leaves for work in his nice Cadillac. And the left is furious. They're saying that this ad is promoting wealth, greed, and well-being, and they're absolutely upset about it because it goes against the class system of the government will take care of you.
It's just a commercial, people. Really?
Yeah, but Gina, this is the point. This is the point. Individualism. You do not want to be financially where you were 5 years ago.
No.
You do not want to be where you are today 5 years from now.
No, I want to improve.
Yep, you've got goals. You've got goals for you and Kennedy and your future, which is the American dream. It's an incentive program that we all should have to use the talents that God's given us to be the very best we can be, right?
Exactly.
This commercial shows that. This man's very successful. He loves his family. He's proud of his children. He's a successful homeowner in a beautiful home, a great businessman, goes to work in a Cadillac, and the left says that creates individualism, snotty well-being, and wealthy, kind of out of control, going for greed. They can't stand that commercial.
What's wrong with individualism? What's wrong with working hard and promoting yourself?
Gina.
What is wrong with, we the people, but, I pay my taxes, I work hard, and I'm sorry if the liberal left doesn't like that, and I'm sorry I'm not going to be supporting people on the liberal left. I make my own money for me and my family, not to support some deadbeat sitting on a couch somewhere. If I want to drive a Cadillac, that's my choice.
There you go. But I don't care if you have a Cadillac as long as you're paying for it. I don't care if you have a fancy home as long as you pay for it. I don't care if you have filet mignon every night as long as you pay for it. I don't care if your kids go to a private school as long as you pay for it, because that is all part of what you want to work for, how you are happy, and how you want to live your life. But for the liberal left to want to pigeonhole everybody into, oh, well, you're wealthy and you're greedy and that's nasty and we can't have that and you're an individualist. Why, we can't have that. We've all got to come together like a flock of dumb sheep. That's what they want. They want people that are responded only to what the government will give them.
I'm sorry, but I'm in it for the American dream, baby, and I'm not in it for the government.
I am not ever going to be unproud, if I can use that kind of verbiage, of everything and anything that I've accomplished. And for those that look down their nose at me, the only reason you look down your nose at me is because you were too doggone lazy to get up off your fat little fanny and try to improve your lot.
Amen. Be proactive, be active, have some goals, and try to attain those goals, because nothing's going to come to you. You have to work for it.
But
and we've got Al on the phone.
I'll bet we do. Good morning, Al. You're on the air.
Yep, you've been ranting and raving about that Cadillac. Well, didn't you see what happens to last?
Yeah, I don't even want to get into that part of it.
Electric cord.
Yeah, and everybody criticized Cadillac for doing that, and they're coming out, I understand, with a remake of the commercial.
Yeah, they have to, because that's phony as a $2.
With the electric. But you will agree. Wait a minute. Let's go back to the original premise of the commercial. You will agree that the original part of the commercial with success, that is a very tastefully done commercial.
Yep. Anyway, have a good one.
All right, Al. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Appreciate it. You know, success, using the tools and talents that God gave each and every one of us, instead of being just a member of the flock. Are they going to feed me today? I guess I better get up at 9 o'clock and go down and see what I can get for freebies. I don't want to live that life. Never did want to live that life. I want to be successful. I want to have nice things. I want to do nice things for my family. I want to go where I want to go. I want to afford what I want to afford. I want to be an individualist. I don't want to be a member of this liberal left absolute congregation of mediocrity. That's what they are. That's what they are. And that's what they will always be. good heavens, and to think that I might have to rub shoulders with the likes of Harry Reid and Dick Durbin and Chuck Schumer. Oh, it just makes my skin crawl. Okay, coming up next hour, we've got State Senator Dean Cameron coming on the air, talking to us live and direct from the state legislative session. And then at 10:30 this morning, again, a good friend of mine, Attorney Grant Gerber out of Elko, Nevada, and talking about the sage grouse issue, and, of course, we'll take some more of your calls. And what else have I got here real quick? I've got some public service announcements I've got to take care of really, really fast. My good buddy Charlie Howell told me they're going to have a gathering for Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. It's going to be this coming Saturday the 15th at 6 p.m. at the Blue Lakes Country Club, 1940 Blue Lakes Grade, Twin Falls. And if you'd like to RSVP, call 344-8683. That's going to be at the Blue Lakes Country Club coming up this Saturday night. Gotta run. News next, ABC. I'll see you in 6. Okay, here we go, the last hour. Rev the engines up, and away we go. Welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and some of our great advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends with Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to visit with this man. I know I've been gone on occasion because of my surgery and everything when he called in to do the legislative update as to what's happening in Boise. And I say good morning to a very dear friend, Senator Dean Cameron. Good morning, sir.
I've been trying to call him. He might actually be they might be doing roll call right now, so I'm going to continue to try, but he did not answer.
You know, it seems like, one would say, the 10:06 hour has been doomed to failure the last couple of days.
It has. Oh, my goodness.
It's been the 10:06 hour.
It has been the 10:06, and between 10 and 10:30, we've been having issues.
Yeah, of course, off the air, we talk in a different style sometimes.
Yes,
and some of the verbiage that we used about guests that don't show up or something that happens might be a little bit on the shady side.
Yes, well, something that the FCC would probably frown upon if we actually said anything.
Yeah, really.
On the air. But I'm just going to go ahead and continue to try and call him. My gut feeling is that they're probably doing roll right now, and so he has to be in there.
Yeah, he's probably standing there going, I'm here, let me go. I want to get out and talk to Zeb on the radio. Okay, keep trying. Thank you.
Will do.
In the interim, which means kind of a high-class word for saying please call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. And while we're waiting for Dean to call us, or we get a hold of him, we will be looking forward to hearing from you. Little by little, and this goes back to a week ago on the program, we had Randy Hardy, the president of the National Potato Council, on, and I really think the world of Randy and the Potato Council and everything and what they're trying to do. But, I mentioned to Randy during the course of the conversation, I said, Randy, things have really changed, and it looks like now more so than ever before, government is trying to come into our lives and basically tell us what we can and can't eat. And he concurred and said if I'd have said that 5 years ago, he would have laughed at me, but now he's more worried about it than ever before. Well, there has been a meeting. There has been a meeting in Washington, D.C., and this is so disconcerting to me. It is being operated and convened through the Obama administration, and it is called the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. Let me say that again. Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. And what they're doing behind closed doors is formulating plans, formulating diets, formulating what we can and can't eat, and that's their approach to how they're going to guide us and basically control us. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. Hey, I have a question for Senator Cameron. I was looking online last night, and there's a House Bill 514 that came up, and it's about concealed carry law.
Mm-hmm.
And the Senate voted it down in committee.
Okay.
So it's not going to be brought. They killed it in committee, and so it was a 6-2 vote or something in the Senate. Well, are you familiar with the law?
Vaguely, I've just looked it over. I have not read it in its entirety. I apologize for that.
Oh, that's fine. I was wondering because it was the concealed carry permit that the legislators and our elected officials, they are allowed to have a concealed weapon without the permit.
Right.
And then this bill was the House voted almost unanimously to pass that bill that it would say that, no, they needed a permit also.
Let me ask you something. Are you a gun owner?
Yes.
Okay, I am too. Let me ask you this, and I said this last week on the program, and nobody really has given me a good answer, and then I asked again on Monday, I think it was, during the program. We are only about 140 years removed from the old wild woolly West, where in every town, in every location of the old West, people could wear their guns on their hips and carry their rifles and shotguns at their will. That was never repealed. That was never repealed. And we can wear our guns anywhere, any place that we choose to. It's never been taken in a law that we can't. So my question to you is, dear lady, why do we even need concealed weapons permits?
As my husband and I discussed that last night, it was, first off, why is it that we're spending so darn much time in our legislature going over these things? If we have elected these people into office, then why is it that we aren't all responsible enough?
Yeah, I mean,
the other part of this law was that outside of city limits, and I agree with you, whenever was that taken away from us?
Yeah.
But outside of our city limits, then now we wouldn't need a concealed weapon permit. You could freely carry.
Absolutely.
And that was also shot down by our Senate. Now, as I read the remarks by Russ Fulcher, who's running for governor, and Jeff Sidaway, they are talking about that he decried the bill as political correctness.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I understand the argument of having elected officials being under the same laws as everyone else, but I believe there's a defendable difference in this case, and that's the majority of the citizenry does not put themselves in the same set of circumstances that those of us do who have chosen and who have been privileged to be elected officials. It's not the same as it is for me as for the 35 to 40,000 people that are my constituents.
Well, see, I disagree with that entirely, and I think you do too. I go back to the very simple, childish adage of what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I absolutely would fight and restrain against that kind of verbiage because I maintain, and I'm going to be very simplistic about this, is that if there was never a national, federal, or state or local closure or a bill or a law that says we can't carry the guns like we used to when we came into this country to settle it as pioneers, why are we being subjected to laws right now that put us in kind of dire straits, concealed weapons permits, maybe not packing the gun right with the vehicle in the trunk or whatever? We don't have to.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, I just was wondering, yes, it was killed in committee in the Senate, and so Senator Cameron was not even voting upon it.
Yeah.
But I just wondered what his thoughts were, because once again, we have elected officials that are not under the same laws as us. And again, what you're bringing up is right. When was it taken away from us?
Don't you agree with me, and I've said this on the program many times over many issues, that we the people, first 3 words of the Constitution, it's our fault because of some of the status that we're in, because we've let government come in and dictate to us and bend the Constitution, bend the laws and the rules to suit them, but not us.
Yep, because we have our face in the mud working.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I do appreciate your call. God bless. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was talking to a lawyer the other day, as a matter of fact, and I said, when did we abdicate those freedoms that we had 100 years ago to basically put a gun on our hip and go where we please and carry rifles and shotguns, etc.? When did that become unlawful? And why is there then a necessity for a concealed weapons permit? And anybody that's out there listening that has an answer, a bona fide answer, I'll take it, I'll look at it, I'll learn about it, etc. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
I think when we started losing that, it wasn't because we was out working or anything. It's because we keep voting the same people in over and over again. And they're in there for themselves. They're not in there to represent the people.
I couldn't agree more. When you look at the cases like John McCain, and you look at the cases like Dick Durbin, and you look at the cases of Harry Reid, there's a prime example of a man that should have been turned out to pasture a long time ago and had only grass and water. I absolutely agree with you.
Well, and we look right here in Idaho, too. If we voted them in over 2 term limits, we deserve what we get.
But no, sir, let me ask you this. I'm assuming that you're fairly close to my age. When did we abdicate those freedoms to carry not weapons, but protection that we used 100 years ago? Is there a law in the books I'm unaware of? Why do we need concealed carry permits?
No, we shouldn't have to have them. I agree 100%. But it's because of the politicians that don't stand up and yell and scream.
Absolutely. Sir, I appreciate your call, and I certainly hope you have a good day. Thank you very much. Now, I do know that I think I will not necessarily just strap on one of my pistols and walk into a candy store or have a milkshake or whatever wearing a gun. I'm not saying that I believe in just going into a situation to where a bar or whatever wearing a gun that might cause a conflagration or whatever. But where did we abdicate that freedom in this country? Where was it changed? Who changed it? Who wrote the laws? And honestly, somebody tell me, if we still have that right to carry and own those guns, why do we even need to have a concealed weapons permit? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Do you remember me? Jerry and I came with that Full Mount Wolf a long time ago. Remember when we came with that Full Mount Wolf and kind of scared you?
Kind of? Yes, I do.
And, and so just real briefly, I run a taxidermy business here in the area. And for years and years, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service never charged me for a permit called a wildlife permit. It allows me to do waterfowl. Otherwise, I'm illegal if I do waterfowl without their permit. And for years, it didn't cost me anything. And all of a sudden, last year, it's $125.
Oh my!
So, in connection with saying that, what I'm saying to you is about your concealed weapons permit. If they want money, they'll call it a fee. They'll call it a permit. They'll call it, what's some other words they use? Fee. Permit, license is another one that they use.
Or a tax.
A fee, a license, a permit, you name it, it's money.
Yeah. But, have we as citizenry, have we been so naive and so taken with our everyday chores and our jobs and everything that we forgot really we the people are in control of our Constitution, we the people are in control of our own laws, and I don't remember anybody passing a law from the 1870s or 80s or 90s that says I can't carry a shotgun or a rifle or a pistol on my person, and if that's the case, why in the world do I have to spend and take a course for a concealed weapon?
It's so weird, and then the laws get so kinkily weird that you can't carry the post office, and here in Twin Falls they're going, well, now you can carry in the dorm, but you can't carry in the cafeteria, and you can carry here, but you can't carry. The laws are getting so cockeyed weird, these politicians, because of the fighting going on, and one politician says I want this, and one says I don't want that, and one says I don't want this, and one says, and so then you have the reciprocity map of the United States, where some states you can carry, some states you need a permit, some states don't give a care, some states do this, some states do that. It's getting so cockeyed that they need to have some solid uniformity of the whole thing.
I agree with you totally. Thank you, sir. That summed it up. You did very well. Appreciate your call. God bless. You bet. Have a good day. You know, and some of these concealed weapons permits, you know, they say, oh, no, wait a minute.
I've got Dean.
Finally? Oh, my goodness, we've only got
a busy day. So.
Oh, I know he does, and I'm making jest of it, but he told me he might have that problem. Good morning, Senator Dean Cameron. We're going to put you on fast forward and let you roll, man, because we've got 10 minutes, and that's it.
I am so apologize to them, but I got pulled into a leadership meeting on a little problem we're having, and I could not object myself from the meeting.
No, that's all right.
And I finally left it, and but things are going well, moving very rapidly, faster than this short fat man can run, and we're doing okay. We're doing well. The budget is set. Except for a few minor pieces that we will address as pieces of legislation passed that require some sort of fiscal appropriation or fiscal adjustment.
Okay.
So I'll let you ask me questions.
All right. Overall, I noticed that your committee, the JFAC committee, along with Maxine Bell, yourself, I believe that you co-sponsored a bill with her to double the cap on the rainy day fund. And give us just a real quick explanation as to why, would you please?
Well, certainly. We have a couple of budget reserve accounts, but the main budget reserve account was designed with a 5% cap, and it's based on the previous year's revenue. Then that cap can be hit. Unfortunately, as we went through the downturn in the economy, at one point we had close to $400 million in reserve. We depleted that down to nothing in order to protect public schools and protect Department of Water Resources and other, significant departments. And so now in the last few years, we've started to build that up. Unfortunately, the cap was restraining the ability to put money into that account. And the governor, and meeting with us, recommended that it be lifted, and we agreed, and so we proposed a bill that lifts it to a 10% cap. And that is the restraining level on how much is deposited automatically each year. And so we still can control to some degree what we put in there, with our own appropriation, but it's the automatic deposit that is lifted. So it's a benefit. I don't think any of us thought that we would need $400 million in reserves. But obviously, with the last economic downturn, we did, and I think it's important for us to put enough money in reserves now to protect us from the next economic downturn that will be caused by federal action.
All right. Now, Dean, as you look back over the last 8 weeks, being up there at the legislative session, has there been any surprises, any changes, anything that you're a little wary of, not necessarily for this legislative session, but coming up next year that might slap Idaho in the face?
Well, oh boy, that's a really good question. First and foremost, I have to say the biggest surprise has to be that this session has not been as political as I had anticipated. We have a number of members running for various offices, including a member of the Senate leadership who is running for governor against our incumbent governor. And past experience has taught me that those type of situations lead to a lot of political maneuvering, bills introduced to force the governor to veto something, or bills introduced to force others to be in particular positions. That hasn't taken place this year at all. I think everybody here has a real strong desire to get our work done and to get out of town. Speaker Bedke and Pro Tem Hill really led out. They established a goal of trying to be through by the 21st. And boy, they're driving us to that goal. And we pushed real hard to get our budget done on our schedule in a timely manner, and we hit that date. And so now they're just driving, very hard to try and meet that date. Now we may exceed it, and that's fine if we do. It's important. It's more important that we do the right things vote on the right bills the right way and make the appropriate decisions than it is for us to hit a date.
Right.
But it's also important for us to not waste the taxpayer dollars and get out of town as soon as we can.
Absolutely. I just had a call a few moments ago, Dean, and a lady asked me a question regarding a bill that was presented. I believe it was voted down. 514 was the bill number on concealed weapons carry permits. Are you familiar with this bill at all?
I don't know the number. It may have been the bill. There was a bill. You may recall that the legislature given the privilege of having a concealed weapons permit, and there was a bill introduced in the House that died in the Senate committee that would have revoked that privilege. Frankly, I think the bill should have passed, but unfortunately some of my colleagues didn't see it that way, and they revoked Senator Fulcher, who is the gentleman running for governor, was sort of the lead opponent to it, and they felt that privilege should be retained. I disagree.
Dean, let me ask you.
We are just normal, everyday citizens and should not have any additional privilege that a regular citizen has.
Absolutely, and well stated. But here's my question for you real quick. Give me a short answer because we're almost out of time. All the West states, Idaho, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, Nevada, it doesn't make any difference. 100 years ago, anybody and everybody could carry a gun on their hip or a rifle in their hand going to town to buy gasoline, to buy groceries, go to the general store, whatever. I don't feel that there's ever been a law that says, or imposed upon the American public, that would be changed. Why is it today that we have all of a sudden socially accepted the fact that no, you can't take a gun to town, and we need concealed weapons permits? Why? How and when did this law appear that we couldn't stop carrying guns from the 1800s?
I wish I had a good answer for you, Zeb. I don't. There are people here in the legislature who are proponents of an open carry concept, and so you would not have any concealed weapons permits needed at all. But that has been introduced, but has never. I don't know that it's ever been brought to a vote in any committee. Mm-hmm. I know that the chairman of the Senate State Affairs Committee promotes that idea frequently, but it has not been brought forward at this point in time. And I don't know where we lost that ability. Certainly, one of the more controversial bills passed this session was the guns on campus provision,
right?
And that one was a real Hobson's choice for many of us. We all support our Second Amendment rights and our rights to carry weapons, and I did support the bill. But I also partially supported the bill because I did not want to see what has occurred in other states, like Utah, an example, where a citizen was able to go to court and there's complete open carry for anybody on a Utah campus. At least under this provision, there's some ability, some restraint, and there are some places as a public policy where we've made the decision that it's appropriate that there not be weapons or there be some restraint. Courthouses,
absolutely,
schools, public schools, etc., have been some of those locations.
Well, now listen. I understand that next week Representative Fred Wood's going to be on the program, and that means that you'll be coming home after the 21st, hopefully, and we'll get a chance to get you in the studio, and we'll kind of get a recap.
And after the session's over, we'd love to come back on the program, and maybe I'll even come out to your fine abode and share a cookie with you or two, and we can discuss in more detail some of the pieces of legislation that passed, and allow the viewers to be able to, for the listeners to be able to call in and ask more questions.
We will do that, I promise. And I want to say thank you for running out of that meeting. I know that you're busy. Ladies and gentlemen, kudos to Senator Dean Cameron. God bless you, my friend. I got a break coming up, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very nice man, and I appreciate his taking the time running out of that meeting. As Gina said, he is busy. They're in the final stretch right now of the legislative session. We are going to take a break in just a minute, but I got to quickly tell you that, of course, at the Chadwick Sports Grill, oh boy, good eating, 139 West Main in Burley, beef stroganoff with garlic toast and soup or salad is their special today. Oh, doesn't that sound good, beef stroganoff? I love that. You're going to love the people. You're going to love the atmosphere with all the sports memorabilia and everything. Oh, yes, sir. Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in there today. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, welcome back on a beautiful, sunny, blue sky Wednesday morning right here in the Magic Valley. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. Thank you for staying tuned. And right now we're going to go to the phone lines. I'm blessed to have a lot of friends all over the United States that I can call on this radio program and get their opinions. And this next man has been a friend of mine for, oh, good heavens, I think close to 20, 25 years. And he's an attorney in Elko, Nevada, and a highly respected man for all of his work helping us, the common citizenry. And that's Mr. Grant Gerber. Good morning, Grant. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb.
Good to have you on the program, my friend. I hope all is well in Elko, Nevada.
Well, we've been getting some rain and a little bit of snow on the mountains, so it's not a good water year yet, but it's a whole lot better than it looked like it was going to be.
You know, Grant, you have done so much. You might want to give us a thumbnail sketch of some of the things that you've done for the sportsmen and wildlife and ranchers, and you've done a lot over your career as an attorney to fight for, quite frankly, the common man to stay in business and enjoy the wildlife, haven't you?
Well, I've been involved in quite a few things. Probably the one that took the most out of my life was the putting together those national wilderness conferences, and we had 220 organizations in the coalition trying to slow down the environmentalists on designation of wilderness. We did slow them down, but we didn't stop them. It was they're tough, but we had the American Farm Bureau, the National Cattlemen, American Petroleum Institute, National Rifle Association, and American Forest Products Association, and 200 and some others. And it was sure wore me out. I didn't charge anything for it. I got some of my costs paid, but coalitions are a hard thing, and usually all they do is play defense, and that's been the approach taken by our side for the last 100 years. The environmentalists make an attack, and our side defends, and there just haven't been any offensive actions by our side of any significance. We believe that the smoked bear program that we've got going is an offensive program. I've been told it's the only one. And the goal with it is to increase grazing and logging to prevent forest fires and range fires, to save millions of animals and stop billions of pounds of pollution. And we're slowly moving forward with that. And now the sage grouse issue is front and center. That project we've got going of smoked bear is really important, because the two biggest threats to the sage grouse are fire and ravens, and we need to do something about those two. And the approach by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is that predator control is not important. In fact, they've got it down as number 12 on their list of threats to the sage grouse, and they do have fire as a major threat, but their response to it is to reduce grazing. They don't make good sense.
Let me ask you.
But I've been involved in representing farmers at Klamath when they shut the water off for them, farmers in Ohio when they were trying to make a historical area over all the farms in that area to prevent them from making any change in their agricultural approaches in the future. Was involved in, a lot of people in Idaho and Nevada know about the Jarbidge Road issue.
Right.
And in fact, a lot of people in Idaho sent us shovels. We appreciate that.
Right. Grant, let me ask you this question, and I want to try to keep your answers as short as possible so we can get a lot in here in a short time.
Doug, you know I'm an attorney. I can't answer short.
Yeah, you and Matlock are of the same vein. Okay, but now listen to me. From the spotted owl issue to the wolf issue to the snail darter issue and now the sage grouse issue and everything, really, are we at fault for not being observant enough to see these coming down the pike so that we could have got on offense like you said a little bit ago? Really, were we naive in thinking these wouldn't be turned into big deals against us?
To a degree, but the Endangered Species Act itself is so open to the environmentalists being able to abuse it that with the Equal Access to Justice Act gives them such a weapon to attack all the users, and as a result, they've succeeded to shut down industry, recreation, hunting in so many areas, and they're going to continue to succeed until our side goes on the offense. And at the present time, on the sage grouse issue, is a good example. I'm answering it too long, so go ahead and ask the next question, Jeb.
No, that's all right, but I just want to ask you this. You know, we have to be proactive, but it seems like whether you're a rancher, whether you're a farmer, there's so much that needs to be done in your everyday life, you don't have time to attend all the meetings and be proactive and help support fighting these people, and that's why we have people like you. But this sage grouse issue, this is the one that scares me the worst. Grant, if this goes through, I don't think the general public realizes how it could totally shut down the western states. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I think that a lot of people don't understand it's already gone through. On December 27th of 2011, the BLM and the Forest Service instituted the Sage Grouse Interim Management Plan, which is as egregious an approach as could be taken, and Elko County, Nevada is really ground zero, and it's already cost Elko County businesses and in the tens of millions, and will continue to cost us because it's in fact 70-some% of the county has been declared sage grouse habitat, and because we're 70-some% federal owned, they've been pinching agriculture, mining, power lines, recreation already, and so it's already in place. Now, the next part of this is something that a lot of people haven't caught yet. They put that in place. Well, now it's moving toward next year when the bird is either going to be listed or not listed. Well, if it's listed, the BLM and the Forest Service are going to say, well, our approach was not tough enough. We've got to make it even tougher. If it is not listed, then they're going to beat their chest and say it wasn't listed because we had this interim management plan in place, and we're going to keep it in place so it isn't listed. So either way, whether it's listed or not listed, we are going to be radically hurt. Now, some areas, the BLM and Forest Service people have not put into place the interim management plan with gusto like they did here in Elko County. But I expect that they that other places have been hurt by the interim management plan, and whichever way it goes, it's on the books. It's they're using it.
Is there
a lot of people haven't? In fact, I encourage everybody to look up the BLM and Forest Service sage grouse interim management plan and look and see how tough it is. It's terrible.
Grant, is this the 11th hour? Is it still time for people to band together and come up with management plans, be they farms, be they ranchers, be they whatever? Or is this a slam dunk deal and you're afraid that it's already over and the government's going to take over control?
Well, the government has been taking over control for ever since I've been practicing law. But we have hope in Elko County. I'm on the county commission down here now, and we've passed a sage grouse Elko County sage grouse management plan, and the key element in it is that we decided not to wait, and so we've got we're putting into place some sage grouse pilot projects where we're working with private landowners and local Indian tribe, the Shoshones here, to demonstrate on the ground that the approach taken by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is not correct. It's just radically wrong. And in fact, in my research, it's the first time in the 40-year history of the Endangered Species Act where counties, tribes, and individuals, property owners, have done something on the ground to demonstrate that how to best take care of the sage grouse. And what it is basically we're significantly increasing predator control on these pilot projects, and we're doing heavy grazing, because those are the two biggest threats to sage grouse: fire and predator control. And the raven is the biggest predator threat. In Nevada, the ravens have increased by 600% in the last 10 years, and there's a study in southern Idaho that indicates it's increased even higher than that. So we're hoping that we can get more of these pilot projects going. I'm meeting with a group of ranchers in another valley for the second time. We think we're going to get another one going here in Nevada. That'll be the third one. We've over in Box Elder County, Utah, got one going there last year, and it's moving good. So we're looking at developing others as we can, and I think that if anybody is interested in really battling back, we have to flank them. We can't just hit them head on like has been being done for the last 40 years.
Absolutely.
We have to demonstrate on the ground. Then we'll get the politicians and the public, and we'll either get the Endangered Species Act changed, or we'll get Congress to withhold their money so they can't hurt us.
You know, it's surprising to me. Yesterday I had our mutual dear friend Jack Euler on the program, and it seems now that no matter which way you turn around on this issue, whether it's the wolf issue or the sage grouse issue or whatever, there are the protectionists with the environmental associations, etc., that want to keep protecting all the predators. If we have a problem with predators with the sage grouse, which we do, let's get rid of the predators, or at least minimize them. But now they seem to also be protecting of the predators, and it seems like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Well, no question. And the raven is an interesting bird. The Secretary of the Interior tomorrow could, by the stroke of a pen, change the issue on the raven. The raven is presently, quote, protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty. But I know our treaty partners Canada and Mexico are not telling the Secretary of Interior to protect that raven. I hope we always have ravens around, but we've got a 600% increase in Nevada. You've got even a greater increase in Idaho, and it's silly to have it protected. If it was taken off the endangered, off that list, we would quickly be able to protect sage grouse. There was a recent study, and this was a federal government study, that indicated that 82% of the nests were depredated by predators, and that of those, half of them were by ravens alone. So we've got a program going here in Elko County, and we're going to be poisoning, legally, we're going to be poisoning a bunch of ravens around our pilot projects. We did it last year on the one pilot project just after we got it started, and the cowboys out there said that they saw an increase in sage grouse. Well, we're counting. We've got our own counts going. We've got a biologist that was at Utah State University for 16 years working on sage grouse. We've got him hired, and we think we've got a winning program. We hope others get involved. We hope we'd like to see the counties and ranchers in Idaho take this approach rather than just sit back and complain.
Absolutely. Grant, I've only got about 4.5 minutes left here, and I've got to do a commercial break. So my last question would be this, and it's almost a statement. I honestly don't believe it's the preservation of the bird, the sage grouse. I honestly don't believe it's the preservation of the wolf. I honestly believe, after the spotted owl issue and everything else, it's nothing more than controlling the people and controlling private and public lands. Would you, as an attorney involved in this, disagree or agree with me?
I would agree with that, but I'd also encourage you to read the book Playing God in Yellowstone by Alston Chase, and go to the 16th chapter of that book. And back when I read that in the 1980s, when I was battling on the wilderness issue, it changed my whole thinking about the environmentalist. And not all the environmentalists subscribe to that theory, but the people at the top in those environmentalist groups have that attitude. And so get that book and read it.
I will.
You'll like it.
We have a caller with a question. Quickly, caller. I'm down to about 2 minutes. Fast, please.
Yeah, there was a lady called in on another station, and she counted at the Lex, and she talked about all of the predators that they seen while they were trying to count sage hens. Do they record those predators when they count the sage hens?
A good question. Go ahead, Grant.
Here in Nevada, they do, but you have to. But the thing is that the predators are not trouble for the birds on the Lex, because by that time they're good size. It's when they lay their eggs out in the mile or two from the Lex. So it's important to count them and realize and see them. But when they are really hard on the sage grouse is after they've laid their eggs.
Mm-hmm. Grant, give me a quick summation here. What would you tell my audience they need to do, need to be aware of? Because this issue, we all need to band together, because if it goes through as an endangered species, it will shut down the West.
My suggestion is that look into these pilot projects that we're doing, and because as far as I can tell from all of the reviews that I've got, we're headed down the same track as the spotted owl, and those people fought hard, and it completely destroyed the timber industry. And a lot of people don't realize that it also radically affected the agriculture and mining in those areas, and hunting.
Yes.
the spotted owl was devastating.
Absolutely. Dear friend, and I can't wait to see him in person again and sit down and visit, Attorney Grant Gerber from Elko, Nevada. God bless you, my dear friend. It's good to have you on the radio, and you can bet I'll call you back and have you on again soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Zeb.
God bless you. Thank you. Grant Gerber in Elko, Nevada, and he's done an awful lot to help us protect our land and the usage of our land. Appreciate him very much. Oh my, it's time for a weather update. Holy buckets, I'm running late. Michael Rogers weather brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road in Jerome, 324-7657. Did I say 7657? That's correct. Well, it's time for tax return meat bundle. What is a tax return meat bundle? Well, over at Scarrows, that's 75 pounds of beef and pork and chicken for only $250. Cut the way you like it, and it is delicious. Selling taste one bite at a time at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road in Jerome, 324-7657. And right now, here is Michael Rogers weather.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Nice and sunny out there, but it's kind of cold. Where is that coming from? Well, as I spoke with you yesterday, you're on the backside of a cold front. Storm is done. You got that cold, dry air sitting in the Magic Valley right now. You got temperatures mainly around in the 30s. It's going to warm up. You're going to see a high today of mainly 55. You're going to struggle to get there, but you should get there with no problem. The winds are not going to be a problem. Also, clear tonight and also sunny tomorrow. Same temperatures for the daytime highs and the overnight lows. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Sell and taste one bite at a time. Mighty fine folks over at Scarrows. Wow. Tomorrow on the program, at 10:30, we're going to have Kyle Olson with EAGnews.org, and he's going to be talking about what's happened back in New York with Bill de Blasio, the mayor, closing down the charter schools and basically taking a great education away from a lot of kids. And we're going to talk about that and some other things. And then, of course, we've got Dog Nation. We've got Rita Ramsey. We've got the Chamber Report. We've got a lot of things cooking on Thursday, so don't you forget it tomorrow morning. Big tire sale. Big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab tire centers. Oh my goodness, I'm talking about tires like the Ultra Z900. Woo! Their best all-season touring tire. Over 20% more tread, outstanding wet and dry traction, a quieter riding tire. Oh, you're going to love it. On sale right now. And don't forget, too, your pickup and SUV tires like the Open Country AT2. You better believe it, their best traction light tire on sale. Along with the custom wheels and, of course, the best in brake service, shocks and struts, then, of course, your front end alignments. It's all there. All there with the best of service at Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pole Line, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, absolutely the best. Wow, busy morning this morning, and the lovely Gina Jameson running our board and getting everybody on the program for us as our producer of the show. Thank you, Gina. Great job this morning.
You are very welcome, and I think right after this, I'm going to go have some lunch. I'm starving.
You know what? I am so hungry right now this morning. It hit me harder this morning than any morning in the last couple of weeks. I could honestly tell you that during the breaks, I've got tooth marks on the microphone. I am starved to death here this morning. Man.
Did you get your piece of cheese?
I got the cheese, but, I'm on this diet, and I've lost about, 10, 11 pounds so far. And I'm starting to get into Wranglers that were shrinking on the hanger.
Right.
And I'm starting to be able to wear those, so I'm optimistic that it's worth the pain and the effort. But I'm not kidding you. I am so hungry this morning that this Bic Whiteout jar that's sitting here, I thought about pouring that out and gnawing on that stuff.
Have you ever tried the Ensure drinks? Those little vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry drinks?
No.
Those are good?
Are they good? Well, they curb your appetite?
They're full of protein, and they do help curb your appetite.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, and it helps make sure that your body is getting all of its, essential vitamins and nutrients. And so try those.
Well, Deanne goes out in the kitchen and she says, "Are you ready for lunch?" And I go, "Yeah." And normally when somebody says they're going to fix you lunch, you sit down in your chair and about 30 minutes later they hand you a plate. 2 minutes later, I'm full and done.
Because she's been in the kitchen cooking for you.
No. It's just that this diet I'm on, you don't get that much. That's what I'm saying. It's easy to prepare very quick, and it's out of there and gone.
You know, I need a big old plate of food, and I don't know. Breakfast is sounding awful.
Don't you dare mention biscuits and gravy. Don't you dare. I did.
Dare me?
Yeah,
Dare me.
I want it so bad.
Actually, you know what sounds good is hash browns smothered with eggs and ketchup and Tabasco with 2 slices of bacon and some toast.
Where are you going to be working tomorrow?
I have no idea.
God bless you. Have a great day, Gina. Thanks. It's always a lot of fun with you. Thank you very much. Zeb at the Ranch on KBAR 1230, streaming live on ZebBell.com all over the universe. And we'll be back tomorrow at 8:06. And, of course, open phone lines the first hour. The way things were, the way things ought to be. Zeb at the Ranch. Have a great day, everybody.